Hello and welcome to Midweek on the African Web. It is a new week, but the world is never new with surprises. Four of the top stories we missed this week. First, the 46th President of the United States, former President Joe Biden, has been diagnosed with stage 4 prostate cancer. How did it evade the best medical experts in America? I will tell you more. Also, in South Africa, the president has landed in Washington, D.C., and meeting is expected with Donald Trump soon. Notable discussions was around the white genocide story that never exists, and also trade. Third, Ethiopia is beaming with smiles after earning $30 million from arms export, a story that is non-existent 3 years ago. Last, Africa's security can no longer be outsourced. These were the words of President Paul Kagame during the first International Security Conference on Africa. I am Mochi Solomon. These are more stories I've got for you. Let's delve deeper. And please, click on the subscribe button. Sad news hit American politics. Probably sad for some and a bit joyous for the others. Former President Joe Biden revealed that he's been diagnosed with stage 4 prostate cancer, and it has already spread to his bones. On X, he said this: "Cancer touches us all. Cancer touches us all. Like so many of you, Jill and I have learned that we are strongest in the broken places. Thank you for lifting us up with love and support." Big question: how did the best medical experts in the United States available to the presidency allow this cancer to go unnoticed for this long? Well, doctors do disagree because they say the possibility that they started long ago, in fact, long before his presidency, is very high, and that this cancer did not begin 100 or 200 days ago. It is stage 4 prostate cancer. Listen to what the doctors have to say.
If you have prostate cancer that is spread to the bone, then he's most certainly, you were saying, had it when he was president of the United States.
Oh, yeah. He did not develop it in the last 100, 200 days. He had it while he was president. He probably had it at the start of his presidency in 2021. Yes.
President Trump has wished him well, and this is what President Trump said: "Melania and I are saddened to hear about Joe Biden's recent medical diagnosis. We extend our warmest and best wishes to Jill and the family, and we wish Joe a fast and successful recovery." Well, this message did not stop Trump from attacking Biden when asked by the press.
And the auto pen is becoming a very big deal. You know, the auto pen is becoming a big deal because it seems like that maybe was the president who ever operated the auto pen. But when they say that that was not good, they also, you know, you have to look and you have to say that...
He says, who was using the auto pen? And who was signing all those bills? Well, for context, $2.5 billion in aid was signed to Ukraine when President Biden was on holidays. Also, there were several pardons. The question, who was signing them? Were they auto pens? To burst your bubble, in 2019, the sister of the president at the time said he is not fit to run for presidency and he's got Parkinson's disease. On the contrary, Joe Biden did not agree. He needed this, as he says, to help him with grief. American politics for you. But then the last question I've got for you is, how exactly did this happen? Because all the medical reports of the former president had no PSA levels. Well, you may disagree with the politics, but certainly the main reason why they did not check all these was because he made President Joe Biden manageable. In Ethiopia, Prime Minister Abiy was beaming with smiles when he was talking about Ethiopia earning a little over $30 million in arms exports, a story that wouldn't have been possible 3 years ago. Because in Africa, usually the arms that we use are usually imported, some illegally, some legal. And in 2008, when Boko Haram was at its height, there are reports that when Nigerian armed forces requested to buy arms from the United States, they were denied. And how exactly how exactly do you fight a terrorist group when you cannot buy arms? Well, this has resulted in several African countries taking up the initiative to locally produce their arms. Notable among these is Rwanda, Egypt, South Africa, Nigeria. All these countries are producing their arms.
So these are actually the parts.
How about the small countries like Ghana, Kenya?
These parts are made
But today we talk about Ethiopia and how their military industrial complex is generating funds in exports. This is a very significant step because this is not only boosting the country's capability to protect itself, it is also boosting its capability to supply the whole of the continent with arms and not rely on external imports. Talking about military weapons export by Ethiopia, Rwanda this week organized or hosted the first International Security Conference on Africa, one that is expected to help Africa recognize and realize the potential it has in defending itself. Rwandan's president said, the security of Africa should no longer be outsourced.
Africa's future, particularly in matters of peace and security, cannot be outsourced. For far too long, our security has been treated as a burden to be managed by others, with minimal input from us and often without the benefit of our context or consent. This approach has failed to deliver both for Africa and for the world. Moving forward, we must participate not from the margins, but as a credible and capable partner.
This reminds me of a story Yoweri Museveni shared. Watch.
The whole of the African Union gave that committee a mandate to look for a solution for the Libyan problem. Now, on one occasion, I didn't go that time. These excellencies, this one here, Jacob Zuma, and the others, I was not there, but my minister was among them. They entered a plane in Nouakchott in his place. They were going to Libya to mediate. And they were told by NATO to go back. Yes. Said, you go back. Yes, he's here.
This week, the president of South Africa is expected to meet with Donald Trump in the Oval Office. A very anticipated conversation is expected to take place. One of the things that I would border on is the fake white genocide story that is being propagated by the legacy media. A story that is non-existent. And so the presidency says they will not spend time to talk about something that is not existent.
Well, we are going to have an opportunity to discuss geopolitical issues, not only Israel, but also Ukraine. And so all these matters will be on the table for proper discussion. And we are very rational when it comes to discussing global and geopolitical matters. And we will put South Africa's interest first, and our own foreign policy positions will be well clarified. So fear not. The trade relations are the most important. That's what has brought us here. We want to come out of the United States with a really good trade deal, investment promotion. We invest in the United States and they invest in us, and we want to strengthen those relations, and we want to consolidate good relations between our two countries.
And rightly so, South Africa should not spend time talking or refuting a claim that is not there. Rather, the energy should be focused on how bilateral trade would be enhanced. Bilateral because United States and South Africa are not in a bilateral trade. They are not. So enhancing this trade is an important thing. By bilateral, I mean the United States economy is much bigger than the South African. And so definitely trade deals that happen between these two countries are not going to be equal. South Africa needs to realize this and come to the table with more. The G20 summit is expected to raise South Africa's status as a global power, and that should transcend to the whole of Africa and support Africa to realize its potential. in such trade conversations. Back to the white South African story. How are a certain group of people who have enjoyed privileges for centuries, and now that the time has caught up with them and been asked to come to the table for equality, they are running to seek refugee status in the United States? How absurd. Thank you for watching. This is Midweek Crabs on the African Wave. We've got more for you. Once again,